Ooh. Oh my gosh. Wow. Hey, everybody. Hi. You guys, you guys know um, I usually do pre-recorded stuff, but my cinematographer is busy this week, and this one is like a doozy. Um, shout out to Samantha Cooker for sending me this this clip from TikTok that I want to talk about. Hey, uppity unicorn. Hey, everybody in the chat. How you doing? I'm just gonna jump right into it. Okay. This is something that I think, especially since today is a work day, it's very, very, very appropriate to for me to share this. I don't know what's going on. There's just like all these planes going over. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's kind of annoying. I'm just going to keep going. So I wanted to, again, shout out to Samantha Cooker for sending this to me via email. I really appreciate it because it's something that really does need to be a discussion. So she sent me this little clip from TikTok. I feel like, let me see if I can make it bigger. Okay, and then we're gonna listen and we're gonna talk about it.
Okay, quick PSA to everyone out there. Black women in the workforce, wherever, regardless of what field they're in, when Black women come to work, they go to work to do their job. They want to clock in, do their job, and leave. That being said, we're not there to make friends. If that happens, cool. But please understand, you are not entitled to our engagement, and we are not required to be your friend and engage with you. We are not uncooperative, we are not combative, and we are not hostile just because we don't want to be your friends. Leave Black women alone and leave Black women alone in the workplace.
Okay, I'm gonna play this again. But I wanted to first, before I do that, I want to say that that's often what our parents tell us, right? Oh, you guys can't hear it? Can you guys hear it? Were you guys able to hear it? I don't know, the melanated, if you know, did the most of you guys press a 1 if you heard the video, if you heard her speaking? Hi, Cheryl. Jasper, thank you for the super chat. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so this is a common, put a 1 in the chat if, no, don't put a 1 in the chat anymore, because then I won't know who it is. Put a 2 in the chat if your parents or your close family members or just somebody in the community has told you that you don't go to work to make friends. Put a 2 in the chat. Hey, Themis. Place a 2 in the chat if you've heard your mom, your dad. Natasha says 2. So she says yes. 2, worst advice ever. Yes. I'm going to tell you why this is the absolute worst advice ever. And I think that it's well-meaning. I don't think that our parents and loved ones are telling us that because they don't want us to be successful. I think they do want us to be successful, but they're giving us the wrong advice on how to be successful. You are not going to be successful by trying not just going to your job and just doing your work. That is not the only thing that matters. Like a lot of us think all I need to do is get my education, get my job, put my work, put my head down and do what I need to do. And I'm going to be rewarded for that. I'm going to be rewarded for doing my job well. And I'm going to drop some statistics on you that's going to really blow your mind, because I talk about this a lot in the Pink Pill for Business. And I also do private coaching on this. I've gone really deep with it. And the stats that I'm about to tell you are going to blow your mind. So I would say that the majority of Black women have been taught this one way or another. We really do believe this. I believed it at one time too. So I'm not trying to, judge you. It's just what most of us are taught. But statistically, there was a big study that was done by leanin.org about Black women in the workplace. And what they realized was that Black women would do well at being hired on the entry level and would get promoted until about middle management. And then after middle management, their ascension dropped precipitously. And the reason why they did, Black women reported that there was a lack of mentorship. There was a lack of sponsorship. There was a lack of connections. And you can't get a sponsor. So a mentor is different from a sponsor. So a mentor is somebody like your professor or somebody who's been there, done that. Your sponsor is somebody who is at your job, who has the power to protect you and move you forward. LB says, thank you for the super. I don't even need the stats, LOL. I'm living it. It wasn't even my family. It was the rhetoric I was getting from the education system. Yeah, so Black women, we have been lied to. And the proof is in the statistics that we get to the mid-level and we drop off. We get to the mid-level and drop off because we think that we're not at work to make friends. You absolutely should be at work to make friends, because you need a sponsor. What is a sponsor going to do for you? They have the power to push you forward, and they have the power to protect you. Okay. And so when you don't have that, if you don't have somebody that can move you forward so that you can be visible in projects, that you can have the opportunities to show how amazing you can be. And also, if you don't have somebody, and especially for us, if you don't have somebody who's willing to advocate for you and to protect you and let you know what's going along the pike, what's coming along the pike, you're going to be on your own. So I'm going to give you guys a few statistics, and I want you guys to really just think about this. So let me ask you guys a question. What if there was a table with $20,000 on it, and it was just for you? And that table with $20,000 appeared out of nowhere every year. What would you do? Would you walk away? Would you walk past that $20,000 on that table for you every year? Would you do that? Let me know in the chat. Would you walk away from an extra $20,000 that was on a table? ICYMI says not a chance. Tori says, show me the money. T. Adam says no. Okay. Everybody says no way. Nobody would do that. But you might be doing that. And I'm going to tell you why you might be doing that. You might be doing that because studies show that people who are not likable, who don't try to make connections, who don't try to forge relationships in the workplace, on average, make $20,000 less than people who put in that effort. So if you believe that you're not at work to make friends, then you are indeed walking past that table of $20,000 that's just for you. That's what you're doing. And that's how important it is for you to be at work and to make friends. I'm going to give you some other stats too in a minute. So I want you guys to keep this in mind. I'm going to go back to the video because I want to kind of dissect it a little bit. And can you guys do me a favor and share this video? I know this video is positive, informative, and it's not full of fuck shit, but I think that there might be a lot of people who might want to listen to this. So if you could please like this and share it, it might save somebody's job. Let's go back. Here we go.
Okay, quick PSA to everyone out there. Black women in the workforce, regardless of what field they're in, when Black women come to work, they go to work to do their job. They want to clock in, do their job, and leave. That being said.
So when you clock in and do your job and leave, and you don't want to talk to anybody, then people aren't going to like you. And it's important for people to like you at your job. It's very important for people to like you. Here's another stat that I'm going to give you. When you compare two people, say one person, maybe you're really, really good at your job. Maybe you're really good at your job, but you don't talk to people and you're not likable because you don't talk to anybody and you're not there to make friends, right? So what happens is that statistically, you know how to do your job and you don't make many mistakes, right? Because you know your job and you're good at it, right? You're there to do your job, right? But inevitably there will be a mistake that's made. So here's what happens to women who think like this versus women who don't. So a person who is likable can make more mistakes and be forgiven for those mistakes. And I want you guys to think about somebody at your workplace who's likable, you know, they spend at least some bit of time with the people around them. They're getting to know them. They ask about their lives. They show a genuine interest. Maybe they're not as good as you at your job, and then they make mistakes and they're like, oh, you know, it's okay. But you know what happens to people who aren't likable? Even if you make less mistakes, they make a bigger deal out of the mistakes you made when they don't like you. So even if you do your job better, even if you make mistakes, when you do make a mistake, it's a bigger deal. It's a bigger deal because they don't like you. And it may not even be that they don't like you, they just don't know you, you know? It could be, I mean, not liking somebody requires effort, right? But they just don't know you. Um, if you don't have the kind of, somebody said this, they may also get a promotion over you. Absolutely, absolutely true. And you might be thinking, I do all this hard work. I do everything I'm supposed to do. This person knows less than I do. And they're getting promoted. Now they want me to train her or him for my job. That's because all you thought you needed to do was go to work and do your job and go home. That's why Black women fall down precipitously once they get to middle management, because everything above middle management begins to be almost exclusively about relationships. Because when you're at the entry level and the mid level, those are more tactical job responsibilities. You need to know the tactics. So by middle management, you know your job. You know your job technically. But what gets you promoted past that is your relationships and how you get along with other people. And this is why this is the worst advice ever. And we're sometimes so strong and wrong about our belief systems, right? So strong and wrong. So regardless of what industry you're in, you got to make the effort to get to know people. You've got to make the effort to at least sometimes go to the after work events, participate in the workplace extracurricular activities. Find allies there. If you don't have any allies there, it doesn't matter how good your job is. It really doesn't. We need to focus more on our people skills. We're obviously doing well in that we're getting educated, we're getting the skills needed. But if we don't get those soft skills, and I'm going to tell you, that's why I went back and studied this and got my certification as a business etiquette and protocol consultant. And I speak to a lot of HR people. I was just in Las Vegas speaking to a major recruiter that recruits for all the big casinos. And she said that your skill set is so needed here. We're having such a hard time filling these positions, especially positions working with people. So between COVID and the lockdown and the internet and all of this stuff, we're losing the skills. It's making it harder and harder. And I feel especially sorry for the younger generation because it's even more challenging. So just go do your job and just do your job at your own peril. Lively Sown folks think it's because of racism. No, it's who you know. Black people at large feel uncomfortable in certain settings. Then they want to say it's racist. You're right, CK. Exactly. So you'll get invited somewhere or you'll go to an event and won't talk to anybody, or you'll go to an event and you'll talk to the other 3 Black people there and you won't try to talk to anybody else. You won't try to network. You won't try to take the opportunity to get to know somebody on a human level. And then you wonder why you don't get invited back. You're not getting invited back because you're Black, because if that were the case, you would have never been invited in the first place. You get invited to those things, and also your manager and people who have their eye on you are going to purposely invite you to things to see how you behave and interact, because as you get further up the ladder, it's about how well you can communicate and interact with potential clients, and be a representative of the company. And so they'll invite you there to test you on that. They're like, yeah, she's got the skills, she's got the mechanics and the technology know-how, but her people skills suck. And when you don't have good people skills, you leave $20,000 on the table every year. And you also make yourself more vulnerable, even if you know your job. If you don't have those relationships, when you make a mistake, people aren't going to be rallying around to forgive you. And I'm going to leave you guys with a story. So I used to work in PR, and I was an account executive, and there was a guy, and he's actually a real person. He's a real person, and I'm going to share with you who he is. And I tell him, I use him as a story all the time. His name is Scott Starkey. So in 2000, Scott got hired to the agency doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Magnet Communications, and I was an account manager there. And they had Scott sit next to me to kind of help him and guide him through, just the ins and out of public relations. And Scott, he was so friendly. He was so friendly. And he spent a lot of time talking to people, showing a genuine interest with people. He would go and he talked to everybody. He talked to the receptionists. He talked to he talked to the higher ups. He talked to the executives that ran the office. He spoke to everybody, and he made everybody feel that he was genuinely interested in him. And meanwhile, I was operating under the same mentality that I'm just here to do my job, and as long as I do my job, then that's all I need to do. And I would look at him and shake my head. This is like before I knew better. And I'd be like, oh, this guy isn't going to survive. And then September 11th happened, and everybody was doing these massive layoffs. And I was able to survive the first round of layoffs, but I wasn't able to survive the second round of layoffs. But you know who they kept? Scott Starkey. And it wasn't because he was white or anything like that. It was because of what he did. It was because he made an effort to establish rapport, gain the sponsorships, get the alliances, align for a level of protection. And quite frankly, at that point in careers, I was much more talented than him when it came to PR. But let me show you who Scott Starkey is now. Hold on a second. Okay. Let me share this. This is Scott Starkey, Chief Communications Officer at the Irvine Company. You guys should look up the Irvine Company. It's one of the largest companies. Like they pretty much built Orange County. So when you think about all the fancy ritzy parts of Orange County, the Irvine company pretty much master planned Orange County and made it the one of the most desirable places, one of the most wealthiest and most desirable places to live. And he's the head. The guy who I thought spent too much time talking to people and going to, different folks' cubicles and being friendly and spending all that time. Look where he is now. And I can tell you that he definitely worked less than I did. He probably still doesn't do as much work. I needed to spend more time. I needed to spend more time doing what Scott did. Instead of Scott learning from me, I learned the most valuable lesson from him. LB says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou. Absolutely. Purple Girl says he understood the assignment. It didn't have any, I'm sure it helped him a little bit that, he's white and male. But listen, I worked with him and he's a solid, I saw his personality. We are always so easy to opt for the lazy thinking of saying it's racism. But no, I saw this guy in action and I use him. I gave this, the presentation, the things that I'm telling you right now, I did this for NASA. So I did a people skills presentation for NASA a few months ago, and I used Starkey in all of my presentations because he is the example of what I'm talking about. So we work really hard, but we work really hard on the wrong things. Yes, do your job, know the technical aspects of your job. But what you really need to be focusing on and what's going to protect you and what's going to move you forward, even if you decide that you want to work on your own and you want to be your own, you still got to have people skills because now you got to go out and get your own clients. You got to get your own, you got to do your own hustle. So I say all this to say is that the kind of messaging that we heard from this young woman, and I'll go ahead and let this finish, is the worst advice we can give, that we can listen to ourselves, and it's the worst advice that we can give to our children. So please stop doing that because it is hurting us economically in a devastating way. And nobody actually has the guts to tell us. Nobody in the workplace is going to want to be the one to have to tell you. It's actually not polite to tell people unless they ask. But if you don't know to ask, you're not going to ask the question if you don't even know what the question is.
Not there to make friends. If that happens, cool. But please understand, you are not entitled to our engagement and we are not required to be your friend. And
yes, you are. They are entitled to your engagement. Sorry. You think that you can show up to work, do your job and be an asshole, and you think you're not entitled to be engaged with people in a friendly way and establish rapport? Girl, yo, you are absolutely supposed to do that. We got to get these chips off our shoulders, man. It's keeping us broke. It's keeping $20,000 a year on the table, at least. It's keeping us from getting promoted above middle management. It's hurting us in ways that we're fully aware of. Okay.
With you. We are not uncooperative, we are not combative, and we are not hostile just because.
But when you don't speak to people and you don't engage, people are going to fill in the blanks. And with the absence of that interaction, they're just going to go by your body language. They're going to go by your vocal tone. And your vocal tone, this woman's, and let's just take a second. Let's look at this woman's body language and vocal tone. It's very matter of fact. It's not communicated with any type of softness. She's going to tell you what she's going to do. And you're going to have to deal with it. And this is why we have a lot of problems. Thank you, Themis. I assumed a lot of this was common sense, but sheesh. Themis, do you want to come up and talk about it? I can give the link if anybody wants to talk about it. I have a little bit of time. Let me just finish this. Okay, let me just finish the share and then I'll go to the invite link.
I want to be your friends. Leave Black women alone and leave Black women alone in the workplace.
You can't be like this. You can't be like this and expect to be successful. You just can't. Oh, Themis is in the office. Well, I'll put the link. If you guys want to talk for a couple minutes, we can. I just thought this is a very, very germane topic. And so if you guys are interested, I also want to just say that I did a whole course called The Pink Pill for Business. And this is just the tip of the iceberg for the stuff that I cover there. I don't know if anybody in the chat has had the course or taken the course, but it is like an online finishing school specifically for Black women that goes through the whole unlearning process of, and also understanding and really sharing the secrets, the open secrets that everybody knows apparently, except for us. Ali says, I have the course. Ali, what do you think of it? I guarantee you it's not like anything else out there. Hi, Abina. Abina, you're on mute. You're gonna have to take yourself off of mute. It says it's connecting the audio. Abina, take yourself off mute, honey.
Oh, hello. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, I'm sure just like everyone here, I completely agree. And for my experience, and I understand this can go across all professions, especially I work in architecture. Like, yes, you have to know what you have to do, but it is a lot of, it's image based and how you work with people. And I had to learn on my own how to talk to people, but also be very observant in how people got to where they are. I mentioned in the chat how one of the directors that I've worked with recently, it was a masterclass of really understanding how this man was the director that he is, because obviously he's talented, but when you talk to him, he's very personable. He's very, oh, sorry, did I?
Wait, I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. He's personable. He knows how to interact with clients. He understands how to get his team motivated for us to get through deadlines. And when I put all the notes together, I was like, and that is why he's director. And apparently the story is he's the fastest, youngest promoted director at our firm. And not only does he have the personal, the skills, the people skills? One of my coworkers, when talking to him, he had a one-on-one with our boss, and he had to ask the question, how did so and so get promoted so fast? And besides just being talented, obviously, like, I want to emphasize that, my boss told him also he's tall and handsome. And
Mhm.
I mean, when
Yeah.
you look
So,
at this, yeah.
mhm. So I want to touch on that for a little bit. It's called the halo effect. So the halo effect is a psychological phenomenon. And this is why it's very important to look your best and be your personal best. The halo effect is that if you are good looking, and women are lucky because we can make ourselves good looking. We've got more tools to make ourselves good looking.
Mhm.
Um, People attribute all sorts of positive things to you. They will attribute that you are smart, that you are good, that you're wealthy. They'll attribute all of these things to you without even really knowing you at all. That is the halo effect. So that is what you're speaking of. And
Wow.
statistically, when it comes to men who are taller and are handsome are more successful. But you know what else? Women who wear makeup at work also get paid more. And that's a true statistical fact.
Man, I mean, this is one of the reasons why, despite that we're um, still working from home, we have the option to come into the office. I even thought to myself, maybe I should still put in the effort of going to the office, being present there, because I make sure to get to know people. And I have gotten so much advice, so much inner workings of the firm, and and it's and it's like, if I were just to be my introverted self, I wouldn't know these things. And as to your point of the halo effect, yeah, yeah. I mean, this guy, when you look at him, I mean, he's a preppy guy, well put together. It, and after working with him and getting all the notes from, I mean, obviously from you, Crystalline, and from my coworkers, it's made me reevaluate, like, okay, how am I showing up to work? How can I even go further? Yeah.
Yep. So you gotta, and don't dress for the job you're in, dress for the job you want. Observe the people in your workplace in the positions you want to be in, and try to mirror them to build rapport. So if they dress a certain way, you're trying to show what you're doing is you are showing, hey, I'm one of you. She's one of
Mhm.
us. And so that's another little thing, that's another little psychological tool, that just mirroring. um, that's a more comprehensive conversation that would be a whole other thing to talk about that I don't really want to get into
Oh,
this.
yeah. I,
um,
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to, sorry. Yeah, I just want to add that when it comes to, I guess, how one engages with people of different levels, because what I have made sure to do, and this is only because I personally believe in this, is when I take up volunteering initiatives at work. So I make sure to engage with students through our programs. And I think that's a way to think about how yes, you can still have rapport with your coworkers, but have it be from a place of like, what do you believe in through those kind of efforts? And for me, it's always been like volunteering and teaching with children and recruiting from schools. And that way I have a way to talk to my coworkers, but also do something that's important to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And but also be very strategic about what you volunteer for.
Hmm.
Do anything that you volunteer for, ask yourself this question: how much visibility is this going to get me to in front of the people that make the decisions to move me forward?
Yes.
um, oh wow. Zara says, how do we change this around, going from knowledge focused to relationship focused? I've been a doctor for 10 years. My knowledge is currency, but I also know I could be further. I'm also very nervous. So the first thing about changing this around is knowing that it's a problem. A lot of us don't even know that this is a problem. None of us really knows because of what we've been taught. We have a lot of unlearning to do. And you are going to have to take the time in the same way that you spent all of those years to become a doctor and to train yourself how to be a good doctor. You need to take the time to start training yourself on how to be a more relatable, friendly, and approachable person who understands about networking. So take that. So for the lady who gave the super chat, I would say yes, that you really need to use that same energy. You know, we always say use that same energy, but use that same energy that got you to be in such an amazing profession. Use it for people skills. Carol says, how do you answer colleagues' questions about your weekend every Friday, Monday when you are an introvert? That's a good question too. So if somebody asks you how your weekend was, don't just say fine. You know, they're trying to engage in a conversation with you. It's small talk. Like small talk can be an opportunity that people are trying to bond with you. They're trying to see what's this person's interests. What do they do when they're not at work? Are they interested in the things that I'm interested in outside of work? Is there something we can bond over? They're oftentimes, you know, obviously that's a polite thing to do to ask, but it's also an opportunity that people are trying to figure out how to get to know you. And so so think of small talk as the roots of a tree. Okay. So you got to have the roots for the tree. And then the avenue in which you establish rapport then become the branches, the leaves, and the fruit. But you can't have the branches, leaves, and fruit without the foundation of the roots. Mm-hmm. So even though it's tedious, it's really an essential part of building. But you can be, instead of answering in, oh, fine, try to find a way to have a surprise thing, you know, say, you know what, this weekend, I looked outside my bedroom window and I saw, right now I'm actually looking outside my bedroom window and I saw all these fruit trees out here that need to be clipped. And I was like, dang, I should have tried to figure out how I could cajole my friends to come over for a real tree trimming party where I should have got some wine and got stuff going. And those trees would have been trimmed. You bring wine and you say, hey, come over here and help me clip some tree limbs. It would have been a party. So that's a surprise, right? So you're not just giving the perfunctory response, right? It's like, oh, okay, because people are expecting you to respond with something, you know, kind of boring. So look for opportunities in the small talk of what people expect you to say and see if you can say something unexpected. You know what I mean? A surprise.
Kristen, just a quick question. Maybe this is getting really, really specific, but what about when it comes to rapport, small talk with people in where you work who are, I guess, married with children, while maybe you yourself are single? Because I mean, I respect people who do have families, and so it's interesting. But of course, I don't have something like that, but it's like, how do you still, if they mention kids, family stuff, I guess, how does that one make a connection at work about that?
Figure out what your goals are. So, and everybody needs practice. So even if you don't have kids, show an genuine interest in other people. Okay. And especially people who you are trying to get to know. You want to get to know them so you can say, hey, how's Tim going with the college applications? How was Susie's soccer championship this weekend? Did they win? Like, that shows a genuine interest and it makes people like you. Okay, just being interested. You don't have to be super charming and witty, and tell a genuine interest in other people, and not in a nosy way, but just as an interested way. And a lot of times people give you lots of clues about what's important to them, especially in their office. They have all sorts of artifacts of
Mhm.
things and people that are important to them, and that gives you a lot of clues. This
Yeah.
gives you a lot of clues on ways in which you can strike up conversations with people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a very fascinating topic. I have to go, but thank you,
You're
Crystalline.
welcome.
I'll get off the stage and everything, but
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, there was somebody else who wanted to come in. Allie? I guess she's communicating. I think she's trying to join the audio. The audio hasn't come. But so while Allie is trying to connect to the audio, I just want to leave I want to just make sure that I leave you guys with understanding how important building relationships in the workplace is. I think Allie is on. Hi, Allie.
Hey, CK, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I think this topic is timely because, as I mentioned, I was in the chat and I mentioned that I did the pink pill for business. So I enrolled in it in 2020, actually. This time I was still in college. I have an engineering degree, and at this point I was finishing up my internship. And as I hear people talking about the importance of networking, I was reflecting on college because I don't know if anyone is familiar, but when you're going to get an engineering degree, well, at my school, you had to go to career fairs. You had to go to these events to possibly get internships.
Mm-hmm.
So this was something that I saw a lot in with engineering students at my school, because it's marketed to us a lot to get an internship or do research. Like, that's another major thing that requires you to talk to people. So although I grew up in Jamaica, to give you some background, I grew up in
I love it. I
Jamaica.
grew up in Jamaica. I love it.
I grew up there, and I moved here for college, but I would visit the US, back and forth. But moving here, especially going to a PWI in Florida, I had to learn to talk to people. This was something that I was taught growing up. Yes, we're very aware. I was very aware of racism and what happens in America. And of course, it was scary. It was scary for me. But I was always encouraged to talk to different people, because you may never know who can open the door for you, especially being in a male-dominated field as a Black woman.
Yes,
We have no
absolutely.
choice. Like, we have no
And
choice
but
but to
it,
talk
it,
to
it it really
people.
gives you a good advantage too. I mean, especially pretty privilege in a male dominated space. You
Oh,
have to
yeah.
kind of mediate that, because you don't want to give off confusing signals. But
Mhm.
that is a great opportunity.
I I definitely agree. It really, yeah, because although, yeah, I was intimidated at times because I would be like the only girl or the only Black girl in my class. I didn't really see it as a problem. And maybe this is me coming from, the background I came from versus my other Black American friends, who I heard a lot, they would come. I'm being real with you. I heard a lot of them express how they didn't like being the only one Black ones in their class. This could be them being in the College of Arts, liberal arts, where it's much more diverse than engineering. And I would tell them, like, I would have these friends, and I tell them, like, why do you keep focusing on that?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah, you have people who may not like you, but you got to focus on what you're going to do. Because my mom always taught me that she's glad that I went to a PWI, because it kind of gives you an introduction into what America is. Like, HBCUs are great, and I think they're still great. They're great avenues to go to if you want to do certain things. But I think going to a PWI, my mom taught me, when you're going to be working in a field like that, engineering, it's going to be majority white. Let's
Yes.
be real.
Yes.
So I want you to get that experience. And, just to say, I had to go to these career fairs, and most of those people who were recruiting were not looking like me. So I had to learn how to talk to them. I had to learn how to know how to shake hands, how to give an elevator pitch. These were all things I had to learn throughout college. And I'm really grateful for those experiences, even though I was aligned more with the Black engineering group. Any NSBE people out there, hello. But I was very involved in NSBE. And then afterwards, I was an RA. I also used to get involved with my specific engineering fields department, where it was not diverse at all, but they loved having me because, let's be real, they were like, okay, some diversity is coming in, so this would help us look good too.
Yeah. And so the thing is that, and especially what I want Black women to recognize is that your Blackness should not be seen as a liability. It is an opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
An opportunity. And so you've got to shed whatever you need to shed that makes you feel like you being the only Black person is a liability. You got there for a reason. They want you there for a reason. And that's an opportunity. That's not a liability.
That is so true, CK. And I feel like that's something you've always taught, throughout the years I've been following you. And, it's just perspective. I think that's just all it comes down to. How are you going to look at things? How are you going to look at things? I know people, they're in PhD programs, they're the only Black ones. And they're literally, like, just the other day, there was this young lady, I could share details about her with you. She's Jamaican, and she was the first Black woman, I think first Black person to graduate with a nuclear science engineering degree from my school. And this was a huge deal. She said they were they really wanted her to be in that program when she was trying to find her, her PhD program to do. And they really, people were reaching out to her all over because they know what it is. There's a quota, and they love the diversity, and that helps them also with funding. I know that's another aspect of it that we could go to, but I think the major thing is you got to talk to people. You got to be open to talking with different people. You don't know who could help you, who could give you opportunities. You sometimes you may think that the same Black people around you, they could be helping you. I don't even want to get into this. And sometimes they're not the ones who will help you. Sometimes it's the other groups of people. I've learned this through my internship. I thought the Black people who were around me were the ones who were helping me. And then in the end, they were giving some different feedback about me that I didn't even see coming. So that was something that was very hurtful for me, but I was glad I experienced it because people were always saying, oh, only align with the Black people, this and this place.
That's a mistake.
And you can't do that because the people in power, unfortunately, didn't look like them. And also I was just left out, like, there in headlights. That was what happened to me. And I only communicating with them a lot, and they were my so-called mentors. And it taught me to get diverse group of mentors. That's something that's very important that someone taught me at the company I interned at. And she's Black, and she said, get different groups of mentors because
absolutely. Don't get,
yeah.
I mean, don't just be like blackity black all the time.
Yeah.
You've got to send the signal that you're open. Okay. And that's all and it's the same way with dating, especially if you're going to date interracially. Send the signal that you're open because you're comfortable being around different types of people and you want to learn about different types of people and that you're interested in it. That is what makes you compelling, charismatic, and attractive. So
Mhm.
the key to charisma, there's actually, some people think it's born, either you have it or you're not, but the key to charisma when it comes to work is two things. It's being skilled in what, and you know what you know, and warmth. So you
Mhm.
can be skilled and cold. You're not going to be charismatic. You can be warm and unskilled, and you're just, oh, nobody's going to take you seriously. But that killer combination of skill and warmth is what makes you charismatic and makes people want to know you better, and you want people curious about you. So the way to do that is to display both of those things.
Great points. I definitely agree. Yeah, thanks a lot, CK, for all the knowledge you've shared, especially through, Pink Pill for college, for business. I just was thinking the other day, I need to revisit this course because I just started working full time recently, graduated in December, and I'm like, I need to revisit these things. And you had this live, so I think it was right on time.
Yeah. And shout out to Samantha for sending that to me. Samantha is in the chat. Everybody take a moment to thank Samantha for bringing this to my attention. And we had 400, over 400 people in here. So 400 of you on YouTube aren't just about the fuck shit. And that's very encouraging. There's been a lot of that on here on YouTube, but you guys are saying it says a lot about you that you guys are in this room speaking about this issue. And you guys gotta pat yourself on the back, because that says a lot about you.
Right. Thanks, CK. I'll go and let someone else speak. But have a
Yeah,
great evening.
I'm gonna conclude, but I just thank you guys for joining, and thank you guys for listening. If you want to know more about what it is that I do, there is I'm going to put another link in the chat. That's the mailing list. And if you want to know more about the Pink Pill for Business and the Pink Pill for College, you can go to the pinned link on top, get Pink Pill. I see several of you have already gotten the Pink Pill for Business since we've been talking. And one person even got the Rose Gold package. We've got a special for Rose Gold where you get all the courses for $9.97. So anyway, I say all that to say that it's been really nice interacting with you guys. Like I said, I'm lives really aren't my thing anymore, but this was something that I know very well. I've been training myself very well. And it comes from making all these mistakes. So I'm the type of person that the way I learn is I try to find meaning in the mistakes that I've made so that I can be better, learn better, so that you can be better. So thank you for the opportunity to do that. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys today. I hope that this was helpful for you, and keep shining, ladies. The first step is that you're listening, and that says a lot about you. All right, ladies.